Erwin van de Koogh.
Stuck in quite a bit of a rock. We're still stuck in quite a bit of a rock. We can't seem to get out of the recession, and we almost make it, and this is not where we should be right now. That is where we should be right now. We're still stuck, and some people seem we can't get out of the recession. What I see is us being unable or struggling adapting to a new kind of reality, a new way of doing business. The environment around us is changing very fast, and we haven't seen this amount of change since the Industrial Revolution. And what I would like to show you, and Bas did this before, pointed out, it's changing rapidly, and some of the building blocks of the Industrial Revolution are starting to crumble. And the first thing I want to talk about is the economies of scale. They're not necessary anymore. They're useful, but they're not nearly as important as they were 100 or 50 or even 20 years ago. Right. One of the best examples I read last night, right, when a big organization, Kodak in this particular one, at the height of their power, employed 145,000 employees. When Instagram, when it was bought last year for $1 billion and some change, right? They had 13 employees. Right? 13. It's a huge shift that's going on. So, yes, economies of scale are important, but you don't need a huge corporation to make a big difference. And that sort of gets me to the next point, which are barriers to entry. And I think Irene was making the point a lot more clearer than I can, is she started a school in a year and a half. Right? The barriers to entry, you don't need lots and lots of money to start a company. You need 1 or 2 laptops and a couple of months and a great idea to start your internet startup. And we've seen what the internet startups has done to the physical retail and services industry. Right? Cheap hardware, crowdfunding, 3D printing are revolutionizing consumer electronics. And I can't even wait to get started what happens to the pharmaceutical and biotech companies when we get to the price of decoding a human genome from $2.1 billion in 2001 to less than 1,000, which we're expected to hit at the end of this year, right? And that's sort of a theme, the adoption of new technologies, new products, that's been going on, right? The phone, invented in 1870-something, depending on whose view you adhere to, took 75 years to get 50 million users, right? The color TV, invented in the late 60s, got that down to about 13. Right? We need to zoom out a little bit to put Facebook in there. Right? Facebook still took 3.5 years to get to 50 million users. Right? Of course, it's been going crazy since then. But only 7 years later, our favorite game, Angry Birds, completely smashed the record, right? By taking it down to 35 days. Right? And does anyone want to guess how quickly Gentleman Size new video got 50 million hits on YouTube? 36 hours, right? Things are changing, and things are changing rapidly, right? Just to put them in perspective, I can't make them any smaller, so it's the best I can do, right? So change is happening, and change is changing, right? And one of the things is the work has changed, right? From very manual labor, automated away, and most of what we're left with is knowledge work. Right? So in this complete different world, we have to completely rethink how we're going to be doing business. It can't be the same. It can't stay the same. And there's a lot of things. There's the way we structure companies, organize it, and everything. But one thing I would like to point out, which I think is one of the most important ones, is leadership. Now, what's leadership? There's a lot of definitions what leadership is. Most dictionary translate it as leading someone, which didn't tell me anything. But what I find most important is there's two parts to leadership. First one is seeing a future, a potential future, usually a better one, hopefully. Right? And the second part is taking responsibility to make it happen. So this is my definition of leadership, taking responsibility for a better future. And that requires a complete revolution in the way we think, if we want to keep up in this new world. We have to go from a few leadership rock stars to everyone being a leader. Right? It has to go from attracting followers to creating new leaders. Right? It's going from a very competitive mindset of winning to how do we collaborate and work together. Right? How do we get from leadership being associated with hierarchy? Right? I get really pissed off by the word leadership position. Right? If there is such a thing as a leadership position, it's way at the bottom. It's about going from exerting control to making sure people do what they're supposed to be doing, to trusting people to do the right job. And it's from exerting power to influencing people, right? That's the shift that we need in leadership right now. And I learned all these in one of the biggest leadership challenges I faced in my early career. A startup I'd founded with a co-founder was acquired by a much larger company. And we brought in some specific knowledge about a new market they wanted to enter. And they couldn't. They had a lot of challenges. They faced a lot of challenges breaking into this new market. Right. And soon after we got in and we got settled, pretty much the entire senior management left. And my co-founder and I found ourselves in charge of a big multinational organization that was, as we saw it, going down in about 2 weeks if we didn't do something radical. Right. So we got everyone involved in one big conference call. Right. We got all of the people from all over Europe. We got them together and we faced the reality. Like, this is going wrong. We need to do something. Right? And Mark will be proud that there were tons of ideas. And the only thing we could do is just go. Right? So people trained some others. Right? People started getting in outside help, gathering resources, and just from the energy that we've gotten on that call, I knew that was going to be the week that we defeated Razor Gore. Right? Razor Gore was one of the most difficult bosses in World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft is an online collaborative game, right? You work together with 10, 20, 40 different people to solve a very difficult challenge. Right? These things are hard. If anyone screws up, you're done. Right? Everything has to line up. And this is where a lot of the innovation is. Right? There's a nice quote from Byron Reeves. Virtual is where the new leadership challenges are coming from. Right? There's two very unlikely sources of leadership experience in this world, and they're gamers and software developers, which is quite embarrassing, to be honest. But that's where the experience is. And I want to go through with you a couple of the lessons I've learned. And the first one is that everyone can lead at anything. Right? And this means a couple things. Most importantly, that you should not lead at anything someone else can and wants to lead at. Right? It also means that you are responsible for that future. Right? Probably the most important thing is the only failure is a failure to learn. This is what we call a wipe in online gaming terms. It means that we're all dead. We failed miserably. Right? And the funny thing is, we have perfect data. Every action everyone has done is logged, and we can see afterwards. We can pinpoint, with pinpoint accuracy, figure out who was to blame for this particular failure. And it's never used that way. It's almost never used that way. The only failure there is failing to learn and making the same mistakes over again. And the flip side is true. The only success is a team success. There is no point in saying, I did my job very well. Oh, we're all dead. Right? The guy didn't die, the dragon didn't die. Right? So we didn't succeed, and there's no point in saying that you did very well. Now, I don't particularly like fishing. I think it's quite boring in the real life. Imagine how surreal it is to fish in a game. Right? Yet, there's a conservative estimate that I've fished between 5,000 and 7,000 fish. Right? It takes about 15 seconds, so please don't do the math either. But what's important is that there's a clear goal. It's part of a goal, right? And it's clear this will help us later on overcome challenges, right? And people say you have a very easy job, right? World of Warcraft is a game, and everyone loves playing games, and that's why it'll work. And World of Warcraft has a very connotation of being very addictive, and I can tell you it isn't. A lot of your time is spent doing this, standing around doing nothing, or fishing. What is, however, very addictive is making measurable progress and overcoming challenges with other people, right? This is what's addictive.
Excellent job, everyone.
Why can't we have that more in our offices? Right? Thank you very much.